And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 13th of April 2026, Monday. And yeah, today is the day to apply all the knowledge that we have learned about Docker and CI/CD pipeline. And we are going to deploy this website, Chess website, which I have been working for 2 months, but yep, not continuously. Like, yep, last commit was last week and then 14 hours ago. So the goal is two things. Since there are, first of all, three applications in this, there is the front end, which we need to deploy, the back end, and then the TUI. These are the three applications which we need to deploy. And the deployment has two parts. One is Docker image. So we will have to define a Docker file to make a Docker image, Docker file for all three of these things. And then we also need to set up CI and CD. Yep, CI and CD pipeline also, so that whenever we make any change in these things, those changes are instantly viewable outside. So that would be cool. Arrows should be brown, I guess. Cool. So yesterday I created a Docker file for the TUI application. So let's create a Docker file for first. Let's create Docker file for all three of these. I already have a look at this nice Causa Docker image, ASCII art. Looks pretty cool. You can like actually create any ASCII art you want for the Causa program. There is a file where you have to just put some stuff and shit. DOCKER. Yep, spelling is correct. Cool. So and also I changed the structure of this whole thing. Here we have two main folders, directories. One is apps, and this has the backend, the front end, and the TUI. Then the packages, which has common folder, and this common folder has the things which are needed by the front end and the backend, both of them. But I guess there are some things we can delete from this. Readme, like this does not need a readme, we can delete the readme. Cool, and everything else is cool. Okay, now yesterday I created a Docker file for this Go TUI right here. Works pretty well. We get a Golang Linux machine, we create the working directory, copy modules, get the modules, and then copy everything else, and then we run the Go app in the container. We do not make the binary and then copy the binary, we just make the container. Or here we could also not just do this, but actually create instead of copy, and compiling. When the container runs, we can compile. Yep, go build here when we are making the image, and then at the time we can just run the image. And what would be the name of the image, or the binary file? The name of the binary file would be TUI underscore SSH slash TUI underscore SSH. And we can test whether this works or not by creating a Docker image, Docker build. And do we need to give some things? I already have an image for this. Docker is not running. We have to start Docker server, Docker engine. Now it is running. Docker image ls. We do have this TUI image, Docker build, tag is TUI latest, and here from here shit Docker file. Okay, because we are not in the right folder. CD apps TUI docker build that will build the new image. Go build dot does not work. Go build works. Go build works. Go build works. Docker file. Remove the dot. Docker build. First, let's clear docker build, and go build does not work. Run go build, it does not work. No go files in /app. Yes, there are no go files in /app. Wait, that is a true statement. Wait, why are there no go files in /app even though we do not copy everything? Okay, I guess I removed the copy command. Docker build, cool, that will build everything. It is building. Building is taking time because this is downloading all the Go packages which are used. Cool. Now we can run this. Docker run in detached mode. We want to give a port. Port would be 4422, let's say, and internal port in the container would be 22, and the image is TUI. Let's also name this thing TUI, and the image is TUI, and shit. Docker ps, there is something that is running. Docker rm kill a40, docker remove docker container prune, okay, and docker ps all, nothing running. Now we can run this. Docker run in detached mode, port would be 4422 and 22. Name for the container would be TUI, and image is TUI. Docker ps container is running, cool. Now we should be able to connect to this container. SSH localhost 4422 port 4422, and shit, warning, remote host identification has changed. It is possible that someone is doing something nasty. Someone could be eavesdropping on you right now. Man in the middle attack. Okay, am I being hacked? Please contact. Add correct key in known hosts to get rid of this message. Host key verification failed. SSH localhost p4422, that was the port. Docker ps, this is working at port 4422. Okay, but we are not able to SSH this. Why are we not able to SSH into localhost? Add correct key in known hosts. .sh known hosts, no problem in showing this, hopefully. Or we can even delete this whole thing. .sh and known hosts. This is my public key, which I need to copy and put into authorized key, which already is there, but okay. SSH localhost at port 4422. Yes, cool. So we are able to access the game. Cool. The game is not working, but at least we are able to access. Hello, shit, fake Sammy. Sammy is a nice person in Sinners. Yo. Okay, so we are able to access, which is pretty cool. So we have Docker container for, we have created a good working file for, wait, where are we? Apps, app py. Okay, so Docker file for our Go project is pretty good working. And I guess there is also a exposes, yes, expose 22 command which you can write. It does not do anything, but if someone is reading the Docker file, they know that the main process is running on port 22. So good enough. Good. Now let's create a Docker file for the backend. And Docker file, I already have this much. Cool. After this, we have to run one install package.json and copy package.log package.log.json. Yep, copy all this here, right, install, and then shit, I guess that is it. That is about it. Here, one index.ts. Do we have index? Yeah, we do have index.ts file. Okay, let's try to build this. If this works, docker build tag would be backend latest. Here, cool. Let's see. This should work. Does not work. Package lock.json, no such file. Cool. Docker build bun is installing all the dependencies. Okay, this will be cached. Bun install error failed. Bin sh did not complete successfully. Bun I did not complete successfully. What was the error? Failed to solve process. Bun I, maybe I should write the whole thing. Bun install and then shit. After this, copy everything else. Docker build tag backend latest. Here is the directory. Cool. Bun install, run bun install, resolving dependencies. That is good. Hello. How do I learn this? I get confused with very basic knowledge like git actions, etc. Git actions, yes, git actions are there. But roadmap make me confused and feel like too slow. Suggest me some resources. Yes. Boot.dev. Bun install error. Boot.dev, it is not working somehow. This is the website. You go here and you will be happy. Thank me later. Yes, cool. So there are like legit roadmaps on this, but there is this full roadmap about DevOps specifically, and they teach you Python, Linux, all that cool stuff, but then they teach you Docker, which is cool, and then they teach you how to look at your data. Then they teach you about AWS, then CI/CD, and then Kubernetes, which is pretty cool. So yep, and this is what I did for Docker, and this is very good. Like about Docker, they explain from very basics and also very clearly. The videos are very high quality, so pretty cool. Check this out. But still you will get errors like this. Bun install does not work. Why does it not work? Failed to resolve process this, but why did this process not complete? Bun I, if we do bun I manually, it works here, but it does not work there. Error registry, npm registry 404. Makes sense because in our package.json, we are importing here. Shit, makes sense. Makes so much sense. In package.json, we are importing this ach as a dependency, and this is available here because we have a higher level package.json, which is importing everything from the apps and from the packages, and inside the packages we have commons, which is defining itself to be at the rate /ach. This is the place from where we are getting this. So maybe we should make a single Docker image for both the things, because there does not seem to be any other way. I guess we should make a single Docker image for the backend and the front end, and use this legit root folder for that Docker image. That would be it for that Docker image. That would install the dependencies, at least. That would resolve the dependencies. Docker file, copy all this, remove Docker file from here, back, Docker file, paste, cool, package.json, install, copy everything, and don't just copy this, also copy apps/ backend package.json, and also substitute backend with frontend globally. Okay, thank you for that. But yes, this is good. Boot dev is good. And here we are first copying all the packages, because Docker has layers, which means if there is no change above a specific command, then Docker will not rerun those commands which have no change. For example, here, if there is no change in package.json and no change in this package.json and no change here, therefore this command only depends on these, and if there is no change in these, then bun install will not run. But if we were to copy everything before and then do bun install, this copying everything would also copy your source code, and therefore if you were to do this, even if there was no change in your packages, even if you didn't install any new packages, bun install would run every time, and which would be very slow. So you only want to run bun install when there is a change in your package.json file. So yep, that is, I think, called Docker optimization or something, or some optimization it is called. Okay, so we have this Docker file, and this image wouldn't do anything. What we can do, we want shit, makes sense. We have a single image. We can upload this image on to Docker Hub, and for backend we can just use this image as our base image. We can use this image as our base image in backend and create two new images. one for the backend and one for the front end. I mean, I don't know if that is how you do things. Let's see. The problem is I have a mono repo which involves multiple JS TS apps and common packages. Let's say multiple, even though we just have two. Multiple TS apps and multiple TS packages. Want to create an image for the backend and the front end. But since they share packages, I must use the project root as the Docker root file. Yep, and this would create an image, but a single image or Docker file can only have a single CMD to run the code. So how do I run both the front end and the back end with this? Both the front end and the back end, or what I could do, one option would be to use this image as the base image for creating separate images for the backend and the front end. And then what is the standard way? What is the standard way, which would be like much better than this? The option you described uses a shared base image and then extracting it for each service is exactly okay. Shit, that is okay. Stage 1, base shared apps workspace setup. Create the base copy package.json copy, yep, install frozen log file, build everything from base as builder. Okay, they why do have how can they have multiple from things? But okay. Target front end. Docker build target front end. This is the name. Target. From base. Okay, shit. This thing is the base. And then from base as builder, copy apps in apps. Yarn build to build everything. And in this part, we set up the workspace and install all the packages that we need. Okay, and then we build we won't be building anything because one can directly run TypeScript files, so we do not have to build anything. And then the front end image would be, we will call this from Nginx as front end. Copy this from builder. What is builder? Yes, for the front end at least we would like to build, because front end has to be converted into JavaScript to be run on the front end on the user's browser. And then copy this and this so that it is and then copy this thing here so that Nginx can have this, but we don't want Nginx here. And we will also set up not a load balancer, but we will set up a separate Docker container. Yep, we would set up a separate Docker container, and all the there would be 3 Docker containers, one for the TOI, one for the backend, one for front end, and fourth Docker container for Nginx. And this fourth one, all of these would be in the same network, and this fourth one would take a request on HTTP route and port them or delegate them to backend or front end respectively. From builder, dist node modules and the node main.js. Nope, we are using bun. Okay, we can make a single Docker file in this thing. Target. Okay, we can have like multiple froms, which is cool. Okay, in this part we are setting up the base environment. Let's say with a capital S and the correct spelling of environment, this thing as base, I guess. Should be lowercase, as keyword should be uppercase, I guess. Okay, cool. And then building the front end. We do not want to build the backend. That does not make sense. Building the backend, because we can directly run the backend. Okay. From base as front end. Okay. No work there. Work there is already there. From base, copy. Would we like to copy? No, we have already copied. This is base, this is build. We will build on base. This already has everything. Workday, do we want to? Do we have to? No, Workday, this is fine. Let's build. How do we build? Run, bun, build. Bun, run, build. Bun, run, build. From this folder, we would have to define though what we mean by build. Scripts. I think this is how we define some script. Yep, scripts, something like this. Build. Bun, run, front end, build. Okay, and this would do bun. So what is the build command there? This TSC, not bun, TSC. Shit, bun, does bun have TSC? The base bun image which we are using, does it have also have TSC? We don't know. Docker hub bun image. This is the base bun image, O1. /1 which we are using, does it have TSC? Shit, this might not have TSC. Variants, we can use the Alpine way. Alpine would be cool to use. Alpine is very small in size. Cool. Shit, this might not have TSC. This only has one with TSC. Docker image. Containerize a bun app with Docker. Let's see. Okay, get the base image, set up the work directory, and then base, from base as install from this, make dir. It is doing something, installing node modules and stuff, but this is what we do for the backend, but not for the front end. I guess we don't even have to make our backend this complicated. Peerless, what is peerless? Pre-release. Okay, I have one image. We can check if it has TSC or not. We can check if it has TSC or not by creating the one image, and we can, for now, let's say backend, and in backend command that we need to run is one slash apps slash backend index.ts. Okay, Docker build this with tag or target. Backend tag would be backend latest, and Docker image is here. Hopefully this works. Okay, seems to be working. Hello. Wait, you are working on multiple things? Right now I'm just working on Docker. Is this channel made for you to be productive as much as you can? Kind of, yes. And if in the way maybe someone I can help someone, that is just like cherry on top. But yeah, so that I show up every day. And if I didn't have a channel, I wouldn't have improved as much as I have. I'm not saying I have gotten very good, but I have gotten better than I was before. I was very stupid. I'm still very stupid, but better. Run install. Okay, we got error here because failed to resolve this. Failed to resolve this because we need to do cd make dir temporary for something. Expose this in TCP SSH. User bun run the app. Entry point is this bun run this. Okay, we got error in bun install. Okay, we got why. Okay, shit, makes sense. We also have to include copy packages pack common package.json. Docker build target is backend p backend latest here from here. Cool, that should work. Run bun install. Bun is thinking. We have both of our front end and back end application, and also and the common packages, the packages that they share. Bun install will install all the packages. Cool. Bun install will install all the packages. Building, okay. Shit, okay. We have passed the building phase. We are on copy. Exporting to image, exporting layers. Okay, that is taking like 1 minute to build, probably because this is using a lot of packages. Probably. Unpacking Docker backend latest. Cool. Yo, thank you. Is English your preferred language, or you want to also be? Yes, I want to be better in it, and Jordan Peterson. I listen to Jordan Peterson. His English is very good. Well, because he's Canadian, he speaks English as his native language. But yeah, he helped a lot in improving my English, and yeah, sometimes Joe Rogan also. Okay, we also need a Docker ignore file to be professional. What is the name of the Docker ignore file? Docker ignore or Docker context, build context. No ignore file. Docker ignore. There is a dot Docker ignore. Node modules, of course. Node modules, and also Docker ignores in these files too. Node modules and anything else? No. In the backend and also in the front end. Docker ignore node. Node modules. Okay. And we also have our image. Docker image ls. Cool. Docker image ls. There is the image for the backend. Let's try to run this. Docker run in detached mode. Port shit. The size 1.5 GB. Yes, that is big. Why is it so big? We are using Alpine, which is very small. Okay. Docker run in detached mode. Backend. Run this, and backend app backend runs on port 2000. 2222. Okay, port 2222, or let's say port 1234 on the host machine. This one would correspond to port 2222 inside the container, and the name for this container would be backend and image. images backend. Okay, it is up. Docker ps. It is not up. Yep. Backend exited. Why did backend exit? Docker logs backend. No such file or directory helper keys.json. Keys.json. This is being read by JWT, I think. Yep, this is being read by JWT. Init keys, init keys, init keys, init keys. One file, this path. Dot keys.json, let's say. Read from this path. File might not be there, and if the file is not there, then put the file there. I guess this does put the file there. If the fastest system call available for operating system for operating on files, the blob is lazy. This means it won't do any work until you read from it. Size will not. Okay, and in case file is not there, the path to the file lazily loaded. If the path starts with, it will behave like. Okay. One dot file, one dot file IO. Convert the file into JSON, but the file might not be there. If key file dot what does it do if file does not exist? Does it throw an error? Deleting files, writing files, one dot write to files. If this and if the public and private key are there, then load them. Otherwise, generate the public and private keys. Generate a pair of public and private keys and put the keys at that place. This path at this place, put this one dot write. Cool. Well, we can say helper. Helper. Shit. Cool. How to check if a file does not exist there? Await. Should we await? Async. Await has no effect, so this just reads the file. Okay. Check file is there or not in bulk. How do you check this? So how do you learn anything? Do you just jump? Wait. Jump is straight in VS Code. Not VS Code. Do not use VS Code. Use Vim, and Vim the only true editor. Or watch some tutorials and guides, or use AI. Like what is learning pattern? Okay. For first of all, yes, there is a whole routine. First of all, you have to watch Fireship video. If you want to learn, let's say, what is Lua, then Fireship Lua in 100 seconds. That is the first thing that you do. Watch Fireship's video, Lua in 100 seconds, and then learn X in Y minutes. Read something from here. This will give you like some idea of what is happening. And for more theory, watch some more YouTube videos. And if you have very specific questions, you should go to Claude, like how does Lua handle asynchronization or stuff like that, how to read from a file. And for practice, you can go to Advent of Code. Here, go to this website, Advent of Code, pick some problem, solve, and submit here. That would be cool. Or maybe do code forces if you want. Yeah, just practice and try out some things. And for some languages like Rust is complicated. You cannot understand Rust by watching Firestep's video and reading from here, because like Rust is difficult. Rust is difficult. So for Rust, or most languages have a book dedicated to them. The Rust programming languages, language second edition. This is the book. You should read the book, or at least I do read the book. That this is what I did for C++, the C++ programming language by Björn Stroustrup. This is the book that I read, not the whole thing, but some things, some parts. And one problem with reading books is that languages change, but this book is very old. This book is about C++ 11 and the current version is C++ 23. But still reading this gave me very like good understanding about old C++, or because C++ 11 brought out a lot of new features which are still being used. And yep, so cool. And after this I read, there is a specific book about C++ 17, about 20, and for 23 there are videos. Like, yeah, watch videos and just read books. It's cool. Good. Yep. How to check if a file is if a is there or not with one. Check if a file exists. One.file. Okay, shit, that is not too difficult. Await exists. If exists, then all this. I'm getting a call. Okay. If this thing, what can be the output values of this boolean? If not exists, then this dot gen new keys, all this, and enter. But if the file does exist, then put keys there. Cool, that should be cool. Docker run detached mode, port on the host machine 4321 would mean 2222 in the image. And then should we first have to remove the older container whose name is backend. It is removed. Docker psa docker stop this v49e container which is just running for some reason. 9e docker run in detached mode, port 4321 2222. Name of the container would be backend and the image name is also backend. Docker piece and shit, none of the containers are running. Okay, we got error. Docker logs backend again because of this. Okay, we have to rebuild the image. My bad. We have to rebuild the image. Docker build target backend t backend version latest from this current directory as the base directory. This would be faster because we already have the packages installed. We just changed one line. Cool, this was faster. Docker run in detached mode. Detached mode port 4321 on the host machine 2222, and name is backend. Image name is also backend, and shit, we have to remove the older backend. Docker run this. Okay, Docker ps. Okay, backend is running at port 4321. Port 4321. Port 4321. If we hit that port with postman, we should see, possibly we should see something. Localhost 4321. Just this. Do we see anything? 404 not found, which is, wait, is this from now? Yep, backend is running. Backend is running. Cool. So we have a Docker container for this. Yes, let's go. Sacrifice, ultimate brand of sacrifice. Okay, and by the way, Kentaro Miura died. His, like, literally his heart broke open. Okay, so we have a way of running our backend through a Docker image. Okay. To visually see this, visually, we have three applications. One is front end, another is the backend, and then a TY app. Okay. We need two things for both of these, for all of these: a Docker file and a CI/CD setup. Cool. So we have a Docker file for TY. We have a Docker file. We have a Docker file for the backend. We need to write a Docker file for the front end also, right? And this would make writing a Docker file gives us images. So we have a image for the backend. We also have an image for the TY, and then we will have, hopefully, we will also have an image for the front end. And when we have images for all of these, we will create a thing called a network. Network is a way for containers, like when we will create containers out of these images, when these images are running through this network, they will be able to talk to each other. So like they will be connected to each other and they will be able to talk to each other. And then after this, we want this TY and backend to be reachable by the whole world, for which we will run Nginx, and Nginx we would also be running on a Docker file. We would have a Docker file for Nginx. We need Nginx. We will have a Docker file and a image from that Docker file, and that would also be connected to this same network. And then outside, from the outside world, we will be able to reach these. Well, for the TY, we would be able to reach the TY directly because we would be running this on port 22. That is how SSH works. and we don't need any other. We need Nginx when two things are supposed to be running on the same port, but TUI is the only app which will be running on port 22, so it is cool. We don't need to run Nginx on port 22, so port 22, and Nginx would also be reachable on port 80, which is HTTP, and port 443, which is for HTTPS. And Nginx will look at the request and forward it to either the backend or the front end through this network. Cool. So in this whole roadmap, we have TUI Docker file image for the TUI backend, Docker file and image. Let's write Docker file for the front end. And Docker file, cool. Yo, yeah, Vercel. I'm a beginner and following a roadmap sh, but it gets hard real fast sometimes, or sometimes it doesn't teach me anything. All I want method. Okay, shit at all. I will try out your method. Okay, cool. And also do not think that the responsibility to teach you something is on the person who is teaching you. It is onto you to get as much as you can from that person or place or whatever noun you are taking that knowledge from. Ask good questions, cool questions. Okay, let's setup for front end. And yes, it does get overwhelming because there is just literally an infinite amount of things that you could be doing. Front end. And for front end, first of all, we have to build the front end. And okay, how do we serve a React app like this? It is very easy to serve a React app using Vercel, but we are not going to use Vercel. We have an AWS machine. Like literally, I can show. We have an AWS machine. And the goal is normally, like what I have done to this point is we SSH into the machine and install the dependencies. But what I want to do is make such a CI/CD pipeline so that we never have to SSH into the machine. Like we would never SSH into the machine, and everything would be set up automatically. That would be cool. It needs fingerprint. And EC2, it is costing money. You get $120 when you make a new account on AWS. $4 gone. Instances. This one is running. We just have to deploy everything on this server. Cool. Now, how to serve index.html file. Okay, let's break down the problem. The problem is not this. For the front end, first of all, we will use TSC to convert to make index.js file. Yep, to bundle everything to make index.js file. Cool, which will go with index.html file. Right, for this we need TSC. And then when we have the index.js file, CSS file, and our HTML file, then the question would be how to serve index.html. Cool. So we have the front end. Now let's look at the TSC part. Our image does not have TSC installed. we can check our backend is running right now, docker ps, and it is built on top of that image, that base one image which we use. So we can ssh into the machine exec interactive tty, the name of the container, and the command which is /bin sh. Okay, we are inside tsc. Do we have tsc is not there, so we have to install tsc. One install globally. Okay, shit. You see, this is not the tsc command you are looking for. To get access to the TypeScript compiler tsc from the command line either install. Okay, like shit, that is like very genius move. So there is a package in node packages called tsc, which is not the compiler but some other random package, and the whole job of this package is it just prints this. This is not the command that you're looking for. Run this to install TypeScript compiler. So one install globally TypeScript. Cool. And now we do have tsc. Cool. Is it? So okay, first of all, now we need tsc. We can install this using run one install globally TypeScript. Okay, now we will have tsc. Now we want to build run tsc. We can look at the exact command. Package.json build. Let's call this frontend build. Can we run frontend build? I think maybe. And then we would like to ssh into this folder, into this container when this runs, and for that we need a process which does not let the container exit, and we can just run the backend in there. Cool. Okay, docker build target is frontend tag frontend latest, and this is the root place to do this. Okay, run install should have been cached, but it is not. Okay, fine. This will take about like 1 minute to install all the packages. Why was this not cached? Okay, we got error one install globally TypeScript. Why? The error module.index.jst is not found. Run index.ts. Okay, we got error. Okay, we were able to download TypeScript, but we got error in this. Okay. Run index.ts, that is what frontend Yes. Oh shit. Yes. Do not do this. Do not do this. Now, Docker build again. Target front end. Front end. Latest from here. Cool. Hello. Yes, why? How is it going? We haven't even moved on to putting up the CI/CD pipeline. We are just on this Docker file setting up step. In the CI/CD pipeline, we would be making images, putting them onto Docker Hub, and on the remote AWS machine, we would pull those images and yep, and just start those images. Nothing too complicated. On the AWS machine, we would just have to make sure that Docker is installed. Okay. Bun install, bun install was not cached. Okay, so bun run install was not cached. Makes sense. Bun run front end, bun script not found. Script not found. Okay, script not found, which is cool. I thought it should be found. I have a mono repo, and the root has this package.json. I also want the scripts in the apps to be available here. Okay. You can use workspace flag. Okay, we will have to define the scripts here, but workspace if present, the workspace flag runs the script in all the workspaces, and if present, silently skips any workspaces that doesn't define that script. Scripts should not a list but a dictionary. Front end build. The command is bun run front end build workspaces if present. Okay, when we do front end build from the root directory, run this bun run build if this script is there in the workspaces if present. That is not, yeah, I guess that is good. Docker build bun package.install was not cached because we changed the package.json file. That's why it was not cached. Hello, I'm just starting learning backend with the Node.js. I don't know what this is, but good luck. Yep, thank you. And yes, one thing that I discovered making this chess app was that before this, I had only written programs in a single file, like hello world index.js single file. Our whole program was there. But in this, that is not the case. In this, there is this apps directory, which has two apps, backend and the front end. And then there is this packages directory, which has commons folder. And this thing has this file, game.ts, and this file is like 800 lines long. And the main function which is exported from this is move. Okay, this one. This function takes in the move which was made by the player, the color of the player who made the move, and special flags for some special things. So Yes. So advice would be this. Tip would be just like build something if it might seem to you that what you're doing is wrong, but it might be the industry standard and might not be the wrong thing. Like it felt like this is not the right way, like 800 lines long file, maybe I might be wrong. Like there might be an optimal way to do this thing, but there is not all. Do not look for an optimal way, just do the thing. Okay, okay, the image was built. Now run docker run in detached mode. Name is front end and the name of the image is front end. That name was for the container. This is the image name. Let's docker. Yes, it is running. Image front end is running. Docker exec interactive TTY into front end sh. Okay, okay. What do we want to see? Front end, inside front end, index.html source build. There is no build folder. There is no build folder. We were able to build front end run build. Um, no build folder, no dist folder. Okay. tcconfig.json. I guess here we have to say where we want to store. If we do one run build, does not exist. Okay, but front end build. One run front end build. Cannot find module. This. Who is importing this module in src assets pieces dot txt. Okay, okay. At the rate ach. Yo, okay, okay. There was a logical bug. Not docker. One run front end build. Okay, cool. Shit, it is building, and we have the dist folder. Let's test in this. We also have like image, audio here, which is pretty cool. We want to serve this index.html file and dot git ignore add dist is already here dot docker ignore dist. Okay, okay. Let's rebuild the image. Docker build, or let's say first of all we should remove or kill the front end container. Docker remove the front end and docker build the front end, building the front end, tag front end latest. Okay, we also have to give in which directory is the source directory. This is the source directory. Cool. And when install was okay, this is building, everything is building. Building is taking time, that is fine. Okay, cool. So in hello, What is this? Lazy Docker? Nope. Lazy Git? Shit. Lazy has its own implementation for Docker and Git. Nope, I have not used Lazy Docker and Lazy Git. I just use Lazy for the package managing and for nothing else, because it seems like uh, there is abstraction at a place where abstraction is not needed. Just like feels like things become too easy if you do that. Okay, so in this whole step we are able to do this file. Now we have to figure out, we are able to build using TSC. Now we have to figure out how to serve this index.html file. Is how to serve index.html file bun. Shit, we don't. We don't have to serve it using bun. We will serve the file using Nginx. We will serve the file using Nginx. Nothing much. It is like ty, yep, for your git repo and docker image, nothing else. Yeah, and it just makes things feel like very easy, and that is why all and for the same reason I do not have a, like, I use netrw and there is no file tree explorer on the left, because that makes things seem too much like VS Code and I do not like that. Yeah. Okay, so now cool, we have to serve this file, which we will do using Nginx. Cool. We will do using Nginx. Now. Cool. We have front-end Docker file and image for the front end. Cool. We will connect all of them to the same network. Now we have to make another Docker file. We have to create another Docker file or for running Nginx. Shit. We have to create another Docker file for running Nginx. But we cannot have two Docker. Where would we put that file? Do we create another directory here, like another app? We will call it server. Shit. I have the front end and the back end running in containers, and I want in Nginx server to Nginx container to be connected to them using or through a network, connected to them through a network. So for this we would need a Docker file to create the image, and we also need the whole Nginx configuration. We would need a Docker file to create the image. Where should I put this Docker file? Do I create a new app, a new directory in the app directory for the monorepo? For your reverse proxy, Nginx container has no app code. It doesn't belong in apps. That directory is for your actual applications. The standard convention is in, okay, we have a Nginx directory. Okay, we will create another infra directory, or which will have Nginx and Docker file and Nginx config. Okay, cool. Infra is the right mental model because I guess infrastructure is the right mental model because Nginx here is infrastructure, not an application. Yeah, makes sense. If you later add other infrastructure concerns, certbot, Redis config, all of them will be here too. Okay, okay, cool. I guess we should make a commit. At this point, we do have a Docker file for all of our 3 applications. Pretty cool. Something that we don't want to add. No, cool. Git commit message is fix or add Docker files for everything for apps. Okay. Push origin main. Cool. Okay. Now mkdir infra cd infra mkdir nginx cd nginx and Docker file. We will create a Docker file here. New tree. Shit. New tree for the tree part. Docker file. This Docker file Docker image for Nginx official Docker image built on top of Alpine. Yep, Alpine is Perl, 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 Alpine. This is the latest one, and the name is Nginx. Okay. From Nginx. This, okay. Here we have Nginx installed. But we do not we will not create a separate Docker file for Nginx. We will use this because we want stuff from this root folder to be no shit, we do not want anything to be available. No, we want the front end to be available here. Yep, we want the front end to be accessible. Shit, but shit, that is what Lord was saying. For the front end, as front end, we get the Nginx image and we copy it to the right place. Cool. Backend image runs here. Nginx Alpine. Building the front end and then serving the front end. Front end is built. Now for Nginx, starting Nginx from base as from we can do this. Okay, cool. From Nginx Alpine as Nginx. No, we don't need any as thing here. Copy from front end not from this apps slash frontend slash dist. Copy everything from there to HTML. We have the index.html file, okay, for the front end. Now the backend is also fully running. Okay. We need to copy the Nginx config. Copy from infra slash run in cop remove the default config and pc conf dot d. I think that is not where the configuration is. Where does the configuration go? I guess there might be some copy static to this place. Docker build volume detached Nginx static HTML directory to this place slash user slash share. Okay, from front end the distribution slash user share Nginx HTML. Okay, and the configuration, how do we copy the configuration? Configuration we copy like this: docker run entry point Nginx. Shit, I'm getting a call. etc slash copy customize. Yes, we want to customize. You can mount your configuration file or build a new image with it. If you want to adapt the default configuration, use something like the following to get it from a running Nginx container, and then edit this file, post, copy into this. Okay, nginx.config. nginx.conf, and this nginx.config is in infra slash nginx to get the configuration. Okay, and then how do we start? Whatever our nginx config compose, we don't want to compose. Whatever our nginx configuration is, how do we run nginx after this? We have the configuration. We will assume that nginx is running. The nginx daemon is running. Cool. This should work. This should work. Now we have to write the configuration for nginx. Hello. Now the configuration for nginx will go in here. We don't need the docker file. Nginx.conf. Shit, and the format nginx basic config file beginner's guide. This, copy this, listen on port 80, include what is include, maps, number of simultaneous connections can be 1000. Cool. Maps file extensions to content type. Example, okay. We have two websites, name.com, the domain name is here. Login. There are two websites which we want to serve using Nginx, the backend and the frontend. And the URLs are sch.walrus.codes, that should go to the frontend, and sch sha-backend.walrus.codes, that should go to the backend. Listen at port 80. Okay. And also we need a certbot. This is one server. This is another. We want to reroute this some other place. Beginner's guide, configuration for the configuration. Proxy, Nginx, forward proxy, set header, location, inside location we have to say all this stuff here. For the backend we have a server listening, which is listening. HTTP backend is running at 2222. Can we have an environment variable here? Backend port. Okay, shit, we can have an environment variable. Okay, and backend should be able to make a WebSocket connection. Next, reverse proxy, WebSocket upgrade. For this we have to say some more things. Upgrade, we have this set header upgrade possible. Looks good enough. And not localhost. Backend is not running on localhost. It is running on the network, and the network's name would be shit. We do need Docker Compose for this because we are creating a network. No, we can create the network when we are doing cd from GitHub. Okay. Network, the name of the network, shit, the hardest thing. SHA. Running on backend port. Backend is running on this port. Okay. Cool. That looks good enough. Okay. Looks good enough. Nginx configuration. building the backend, building the front end. Network. Okay, let's manually create a network. The phone is not charging. 1 minute. Cool. Docker network help. Docker network create help. What to do after create? Network name. Docker network create ACH. That would be the name of the network. Okay. Docker, yes, we have these things running. The backend is running and the cool. Stop. Kill backend docker. Kill this other thing v1c b, whatever it is. v1c b docker ps everything. Docker remove ty. Why did ty stop? It was docker ty started 1 hour ago. Okay, cool. Hello, don't trouble. If you trouble, the trouble troubles you. Shit, yes. UP. I will like plagiarize you and I will say this was said by me. Very wisdom stuff. Docker remove UI backend. Okay, Docker ps all the other containers. Docker remove, or we could just do Docker container room to delete all the containers which are not running right now. Okay, now we want Docker network list. Let's remove all the other networks which we do not need. Disconnect, prune, Docker prune, Docker network list. Why do we still have 3 networks? I guess they just are there. Docker create Docker network create ACH. Okay, so here are the steps to run this, which I think should work. Now we have images. We have 2 images right now. One is backend image and the other is Nginx image. Yep, just these two. Backend is going to serve backend and Nginx image has the index.html file for the front end, so it will be serving that. And what we want to set up is connect the make containers out of these two. From image to container, and for this also image to container, and then we would like to connect these two with each other. Yep, connect these two with each other through a network, and the name of the network is SHA, SCH, which is Chelsea. Yep. these two are connected through this SHA network. Okay, okay, and maybe the arrow should be like a little bigger. These two are connected through the SHA network. Cool. And cool. This would be accessible outside by port 80, and a request would go to this Nginx container, which will look at the URL and decide whether to serve the index.html file or the backend container. Cool, cool, cool. Shit. Yesterday I finished learning Golang, and how can someone finish learning a language? Crazy, but have completed REST API to practice Go. I will complete the rest of it. Let's go. Like literally, let's go. I was literally in a flow state and start. Okay, okay, that is crazy. 8 hours straight is crazy. I guess you would become the next Linus Torvalds. What should I do next after REST API? Should I go gRPC? Whatever seems interesting to you. Maybe you can start up your Linux system and like write or Nix OS configuration. This is what is interesting to me right now. Very interesting to me. Linux, Nix OS. If you have an Intel machine, you should be able to do that. Okay. We have created the network. Now we have to start the containers and connect them with through that network. Docker run a container, and in detached mode, name of the container, or should we have to build an image for the let's build a, just make sure that we have the right images for the backend and the front end. Docker build target backend latest. Okay, we are not inside a Docker file. That should build the image for the backend. Building. Okay, we have an image for the backend. Now we want an image for Nginx. Docker build target Nginx, tag Nginx latest. As Nginx. Docker build target is Nginx and tag Nginx latest here. Cool. That should build. Wait, what do you mean basics? Not fit. Okay, my bad. There is some problem in interpretation. This is building the front end. This is very good. Very good sign. This is building the front end, and this will only build the front end. Copy from front end. This gave us error. Why? Docker file line 29 is error. Frontend slash apps slash frontend slash dist. Failed to resolve this, failed to compute cache key, failed to calculate checksum slash apps. What is app? Inside apps, we have front end, which has dist. It does have dist, but we do docker ignore with dist, which should not be a problem because we are rebuilding the dist. Docker file. One run front end build, and then inside apps, let's do run ls and run pwd. Docker build target is Nginx, name Nginx, latest Nginx latest, and yeah, this file. Building the whole thing again, even though we didn't do any change. Of course. So what are you doing exactly here? Cool. Deploying your custom Nginx or something? No, I created a website which has a backend, a front end, and a TUI, terminal interface, so that you can just do SSH, the name of the website, which would be walrus.codes, and you will be able to play the chess from your terminal. The whole thing is built, which has a lot of bugs. But yeah, it is built. Now I want to deploy it, for which I'm using Docker for containerizing. Yes, interesting. And this is like not original idea, of course. I got the idea from here, terminal.shop. If you know Primogen, he has this website called terminal.shop, where you can go and order coffee from your terminal. Like, that is pretty cool. You can order coffee from your terminal. Like, pretty cool, very cool. So where is Tmux? Tmux attach. Yes, okay. We do not see the output for ls or pwd. From front end, there is no such folder as this dist. FRONTEND dist. Is it because of docker ignore? Apps frontend dist. Maybe because we have this hyphen for the path. Docker build target Nginx, name Nginx, latest from here. If that was there, like the slash, then it would be crazy. Primogen is cool. And his series about when he was making the tower game with all of his friends, tower defense game, the time Primogen tower Mordoria. He rented a literal lighthouse, a tower, for 7 days, and and his friends went there and lived there for 7 days, and they created a game in 7 days, and they did this twice. So it was pretty cool. He used networking, excites me a lot. So I think I'll set distributors. He that would be cool. That would be cool. You can use a old laptop and do something with it. Slash apps. Even though we removed the slash, do we have, I guess we have to give the base path. Docker build this thing. Yes, for real, for real. And TJ is also pretty cool. TJ is also, I watched his videos to understand NeoVim, LSPs and things. Okay, we had to give the path from the base. Nginx image is also there. Now Docker run in detached mode. Network sh attach this to the network. The name is the permission. The name is backend and image is backend. Do we need to do anything else? No. Okay. Now Docker run in detached mode. Network sh name Nginx, port. We want port number. Let's say 2323 to be ported to 80, and the image is Nginx. That is working. Docker logs Nginx. These don't seem to be error. Back end port variable. Okay, shared. Makes sense. We have to give the environment variable backend underscore port. At least we know that the correct Docker config is being loaded. Docker. Wait, is it even running now? Yep, Nginx is not running. Docker remove Nginx. Docker run in detached mode. Network sh port 2323 would be ported to a port 80 inside the container, and name is going to be Nginx, and environment variable we give that with E. I think environment, we want to give one environment variable which is backend port, and its value is 2222, and the image name is Nginx. Okay, Docker piece, it is not running. Docker logs for Nginx, unknown variable backend port variable is unknown. Let's for now manually type in the variable. And now we would have to rebuild the whole thing. Docker build. I set up Lazium the day before yesterday. I tried making a custom setup, but I soon realized I'm lazy as hell. Okay, pun intended. So I just switched to too lazy Neovim. Okay, for the beginning. Yep. You can also use, I think, Kickstart Neovim, which is what was recommended by TJ DeVries. He's cool. Once I'm comfortable with Neovim, I'll try a custom setup. Yep, cool. That would be cool. And there is a video by Primogen in which he writes his Neovim configuration, and a video by Teach in which he goes through the kickstart configuration. You can watch them, they might help. Docker, target, Nginx, Nginx here. Cool. Hmm. Hmm. Docker, remove Nginx. If it is okay, now Docker run in detached mode. Network ACH connect to this network. Port 2323 to 80. Name Nginx and backend port. We don't need to give backend port now. Nginx, name of the image. Okay. Docker ps. Nginx is still not working. Docker logs for Nginx is chach. Host not found in upstream. Host not found in upstream. Network. Docker networking. Docker networking. Yo, okay, I'll leave now. Gotta attend some classes. Okay, yes, it is Monday, first day of the week. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Happy coding to you too. Network create, inspect, connect container to some network. Networking in Docker is crazy. Docker network, how to reach other container. Should I guess we use the name of the container? I think yes, we use the name of the container by container name. Yep. Cool. We use the name of the container, so we again have to change infra config http backend. Okay, docker build target Nginx t Nginx here. Latest would have been cool, but okay. This is building everything again for the front end. Okay. Docker remove Nginx, the old one. Docker run the new Nginx in detached mode. Add it to the network whose name is Shah, and name of the container is going to be Nginx, and port 2323 on the host machine would correspond to port number 80 inside the container, and the name of the image. And anything else? No. Docker ps, it is still not running. Docker logs Nginx failed. Where is the first error? Signal process started. PID, no such. Nginx was not running at the start. So sudo Nginx, I guess we just do sudo Nginx. But this will ask for password. Can we which is not running. That would be crazy. Okay, I tried Vim and instantly switched to Neo. Okay, yep. Vim, if you are using Vim to write your configuration to get all of this, you would have to write everything in Vim script, which is not very beautiful. But with NeoVim, first of all, you have the latest things, a lot of plugins, and you get Lua to write in. Lua is very simple. Can we exec into a container IT which is not running? I guess not, but let's see. Nginx sh. Yes, we cannot. Docker remove Nginx and docker build target Nginx Nginx from here. Cool. This will rebuild everything. Okay, what is the app that shows the desktop number on top? This one, share. This is aerospace. You can customize this, and look at this. This is very cool. Aerospace. This is very cool. And these are other things, are shown by a app called Stats. And in Stats, you can see other stats. Battery is there. Bluetooth and other stuff. Yep, Stats is cool. The GPU, RAM, and CPU. These are the only three things I guess you need. Maybe temperature at times. Yep, aerospace is very good. We have this. This is very good. Okay. Now Docker run in detached mode. Network ACH and name Nginx port 232380 and the name of the image Nginx. Docker ps. Nginx is still not working. Okay, the container is stopped. Docker logs for Nginx. Okay, shit, it is running. Docker ps a everything, and Nginx exited, and there was no error. So Nginx official image. How do we start Nginx at the end? How to start Nginx in Docker container. How to start Nginx program in Nginx Docker image. Name yes. This runs the container. Okay, I guess but G daemon off. Okay, what will this do? Prevents Nginx from self-demonizing. If Nginx moves to background, Docker will think that the process is finished and stop. Okay, from demonizing. Do not become a demon. Okay. Docker file. Nginx G daemon off. Cool. Docker build again. Target Nginx T Nginx. This will rebuild the whole thing. You can also install hidden bar. What is hidden bar? To hide useless stuff under a click away. Okay, shit. Where I do not work. I am in college. Resume review, please. Can you? I think maybe I don't know. I think you can send me. How will you send? your resume. You cannot send links. Moderation activities are closed. You cannot send a link here. Figure out some way. What is hidden bar? Okay, it is a Mac official app. Oh, put stuff on the right. Okay, like collapse tabs, something like that. But I only have here things that I want to see, so that is fine. Docker remove Nginx, Docker run network, connect to network named SHA, and name of this container is Nginx. Port in the host machine 2323 would correspond to port number 80 in the container, and the name of the image is Nginx. Anything else? No. Detached. Okay, we forgot detached. Detached. You also have to do detached. Is it running? Nginx is running. Okay, Nginx is running. If you go to local host 2323, something is running. Okay, not found. This is much better. Okay, cool. Nginx is working. Nginx is running. Okay, Nginx is running. We want default index.html for Nginx, so that we don't see this and we see a default not found or something in Nginx. Ubuntu Debian make infra Nginx index.html. Let's write here type HTML head body. Okay, title is Nginx and body would be working fine. Okay, we want to copy this Docker file in Nginx, copy from frontend this thing, and also from frontend apps, not apps, infra Nginx index.html. Copy this to HTML default, let's say. Okay, that will give us the index.html. Now we have to update the configuration to serve this if nothing else is found here. Root this order. Listen to this thing. Root. Why do we give root? Listen to this, and root is var default here index.html. Okay, that should work. That should work. Now rebuild the container. Docker kill Nginx. Docker build. Target is Nginx and name Nginx latest build. Shit, from this, but error. Yep, cool, because we are not in the right folder. Now run the same command. This would build aerospace for switching windows. What is your workflow? I'm impressed. Can you explain it in a short minute? Yep. So You can use aerospace, which creates, if this is a Mac specific thing, if you do not have Mac and something else, then this might not be useful. But the concept is that there is this application called aerospace, and in aerospace, config aerospace.toml. This is the configuration file for aerospace, and here you can define commands like this. It has some virtual spaces where these different windows are, and stats. Okay. And whenever I press command 1, command means the window button in Mac. Command 1, I go to workspace number 1, and if I press command 2, I go to workspace number 2, 3, 4, 5, and like till 8. And yeah, that is the basic thing. And on 1, I always keep my terminal. On 2, I have this, the browser, and on 3, the chat. And cool. Wait, you where do I find your resume? There. So you can use aerospace for switching between stuff like this, and it is pretty cool. Yes, link, you cannot send a link somehow. Maybe you can join the Discord and send me your resume privately. I mean, I don't have high hopes in terms of me being able to judge your resume in a good way, because I myself do not have a good resume. Okay. Docker, PS, wait, we were building Docker, Nginx, it is built, run, network, SHA, name Nginx, port 2323 to port 80 locally, and Nginx, the name of the image. Anything else? No. Docker remove Nginx, cool. And yep, there is something else which is detached. Run this in a detached mode. Cool. If we go here, what let's SSH into this. Docker exec it interactive TTY in Nginx cd etc or Nginx vim. Shit, this might not have vim, but this might have Nginx cat. Cool. So this is the configuration, which is a like correct one default inside default indexes index.html. Okay. ls/var www ls/var. This thing does not have a www. www is not there. Okay. So we have to create a www directory. Docker file. Yes, we can just like write expose 80, because this exposes 80 port 80, and backend exposes port 2222, and like we don't know these. Run, make there p before copying slash var www slash share. Okay, share. We are copying them into the into a separate folder and shit. Okay. Slash var www Nginx and slash html var www default. That should be correct. And this is also looking at var www and var www default and html. Cool. Clear. Docker Nginx docker remove Nginx docker build Nginx with tag Nginx latest from this current directory. Cool. I'll go to the washroom and I will be right back in 1 minute while this is building. Me back and yo, my name Walrus, like Walrus. Oh my god, I'm not getting any reply, so I am worried if it is a problem with the resume. Okay, it might be because like from what I have heard from the seniors, they say that you have to apply for at least 100 companies to get one reply, something like this. Walrus. And right now I'm not building anything. I have already built the website. There is a backend, a front end, and a TUI for a chess website. You can play chess and everything, but hey, shit. Okay, I will check it out after the stream. And there's a configuration for laptop. Just like okay, I did change the configuration. Instead of using brew, I am not using brew. If you do brew list, there are no packages installed using brew. Cask is a different thing. Cask is like adding C++ include, kind of like C++ include to get more. Cask is like adding more namespaces, more packages to homebrew. So there is nothing installed by homebrew. So, but everything is installed by this thing, Nix, Flake. Everything is defined here. LSD, LSD is installed. CMake, Lua, Cause, M4, yes, yep. And is it MacBook? Air. I do not have much money here. Maybe after I get a job. Okay, it is not working because we stopped. And also, Tmux is there for having multiple windows in the same terminal window. Tmux attached ESH like this. This this bar at the bottom is given to you by tmux. It messes up sometimes. Okay. And the part here we are doing is for deployment. Config for OBS? No, there is not a special config with my here. No, it should not. It depends. Okay, let me actually show you my OBS. This is crazy. Okay, this is the OBS, and in settings, first of all, I guess you should change the FPS to 60. That would help, and change the resolution to whatever the base resolution is for your image, and keep the same resolution here. And here the video encoder that you are using should be hardware encoded, and use H64 encoding, because H65 is more complicated. So H64 is faster, and use the hardware part. Apple literally has made a some hardware stuff, hardware specific part in the processor itself to do just this, the encoding part. So this is faster than using software encoding. Cool. And you can change your bitrate to whatever. If your upload speed is like 30 Mbps, then change your bitrate to 15,000, like half of your upload speed. That would be good. So change your FPS and the encoder. Okay, shit, yours is better than mine. I have 16 GB RAM. Yeah. Oh, I think Apple TV encoder was the issue. Yep. Yep. Change it to hardware encoding. Okay. We have the image. Docker run in detached mode. Network SHA name Nginx image Nginx port 232380. And okay, if we still nothing. Docker exec it Nginx. ls var www is there, ls cd www. Default and html are there, html ls html, and this does have all the things. And ls default has a thing called default. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. We are not properly copying the file index.html/index.html. Cool. Or yep, to default/index.html. Okay, and now building the image. Docker build target Nginx tag Nginx latest from this. I'm gonna go now. Okay, I'm impressed by our setup and probably gonna spend some time on mine. Yep. Like this setup is very cool. I see you don't use ChatGPT when you code. This is yes, I do not use ChatGPT. I use Claude, but only for the things that I do not understand. If there is something I can figure out, so like yes, you should figure it out. Okay. Docker kill Nginx, Docker remove Nginx, and Docker run in detached mode. Network is SHA sh port 2323 on the host machine would correspond to port number 80 on the local machine inside the container, not the local machine. Name is Nginx and the name of the image is Nginx. Anything else? No. Okay, it is running. Localhost 2323. Okay, still not found. Not found. Docker exec, go in there, cd var www ls default. We do have index.html inside ls. Why don't we see that? It might be that our configuration is not being picked up. Okay, it is being picked up. Signal test Nginx signal test the configuration. Test is a option in Nginx. Nginx signals beginner's guide. Yep. Stop, reopen, reload. T shit. Nginx T. Yes, T is for test. And this, yep, cat etc Nginx config. Yep, we do have this. So why? Maybe inside location, we have to say like this: location. Location like this. Okay, and Docker build again. Nginx is building. And we haven't even started CI/CD, but I guess that would be simpler because we are using Docker. We just have to make sure that Docker is installed on the AWS machine and use GitHub actions for logging into Docker. Yep, GitHub actions for logging into Docker and SSH. We could do manually, but no, we won't. Docker kill or rf s Nginx shell Docker kill Nginx Docker remove Nginx. Okay, and Docker run Nginx. Okay, if this works, that would be very good, but it does not work. Shit. If we remove our configuration, then Docker kill or rm by force Nginx, cool. Docker ps A. Nope, Nginx is off now. Docker run Nginx. Cool. Yep. We do see this thing, but we don't see files that we are defining. We can see files that we are defining. Docker exec c or cat slash etc nginx config. This is the default configuration and include http cd infrastructure nginx config http. Yep. Include mime map. We don't need that. Forward request to the backend server. Yep. Forward original client headers. And this is for front end. Default. This is what we have written, and this is the default one. HTTP include this is inside slash etc nginx conf cat slash etc nginx conf.d is a directory. Okay, cd into that thing, then nginx conf.d ls default configuration. Okay, default configuration is this. Listen on localhost. If a request comes from localhost, location root is HTM. Root and index, maybe the spacing. Listen on anything 6 IPv6 or something else. Server name localhost. If the request comes from localhost, then do this. 44 error page is here. And all of this is inside the same server. Okay. Let's use Claude for this. Hey, hello. We are building So the app is already built. Now we are trying to deploy it using Docker, Nginx, and we haven't even moved on to setting up the CI/CD pipeline. Docker is running, the backend is running, it is fine. We are now setting up Nginx so that we can access the backend and the front end from the same server. Cool. That is what Nginx is used for. In this file, I guess the way that we are defining the default path is wrong. Maybe, possibly. Is not taking the default path to the /var/www/index.html, even though that file is there. What is this? That is docker compose.yaml. The issue is that Nginx uses the first server block as the default when no server name matches. Not a block without a server name. Okay, shit, yes, we are messing up with how we were setting this up. Server name, this catches everything that does not match. Okay, we just had to add this line, server name here. And now build. We will build the image again. Docker build target Nginx. Now we are building the image, Docker image. This is building the front end. I guess we have to do something about this because we do not want to build the front end every time that this happens. Because there was no change. This should. Okay, yes, we will have to build this every time because we are installing a package. We cannot cache this. We cannot. Docker kill Nginx. Docker remove Nginx. Docker run Nginx. And what do we see? The default configuration, shit. Because we removed a file, a line from here, which I forgot. Shit, it was no, copy from /apps app in /apps infra nginx config to, yep, that please. Now docker build again, docker build, and here docker kill Nginx, docker remove Nginx, apps infra Nginx. Okay, why the error? It's not found. /app, not apps. Makes sense. Docker build again. Cool. Okay. /app /infra /nginx. From frontend. Docker build. Okay, this is building the front end. Cool. Okay, Docker run refresh. Nothing. Default server name. This is a convenient catch-all and default server on list. Two key changes. Okay, we just made one. This one. Default server. Default underscore server on the listen directive explicitly tells use this block for unmatched path. Default server. We have to write a default server here. Docker build, Docker remove, or first kill Nginx. Docker remove Nginx. Okay, building. The Nginx image is building. Cool. Docker run Nginx, and what do we see? Works fine. Hell, shit. This was supposed to be hello, but hell. Okay, it works. It works. Cool. Shit. Okay. Okay. Let's see if let's see if we change the default path from this hello works fine to the front end. We have to make changes on the front end. Source lib, wherever we are making requests. Base URL is crazy. Base URL. I guess we just do os.env get env variables in TypeScript process.env. Yep, process.env dot base API URL. Let's say process. Did you you need to install definitions for node in this process. We use process in node, but in white front end this is what we do. And we define this URL recommended as yes. This uses schema. Base URL is backend 2222. Okay. Okay. Docker build kill Nginx. Remove Nginx. This is building the front end. Docker run this, and we don't see anything. We do have root inside body, and how do we see the code recorder? Application security performance network sources. Yes, I think inside sources. Assets, not much. Dark reader, local host. We do not have the JavaScript files here. Why don't we have the JavaScript files here? And index.html is here, and index.html. This does include the JavaScript file, and yes, sch sha is coming from here. Cross origin. Okay, we did get the JavaScript file out.svg, which is something in this, and this, which is including or importing these files. Then why is this not running? If let's serve this locally, 1x serve, can we say this? Okay, we can. Couldn't read. 1x serve this. Good. Localhost 3000. Yep. The problem is with the bundler. Okay, so we could also see the logs here. Makes sense. Module script expected a JavaScript or WebAssembly module, but the server responded with a MIME type of text plain. Strict MIME type checking is enforced for module scripts. Found blacklist and site rules using site rules, whatever that means. What's up? Deploying the chess app or something else? Yep, the chess app. And there is a like whole thing here. The ty, we created Docker file for ty, and we have an image for the ty. Docker file for the backend is ready. Docker file for the front end is ready. Docker file for the Nginx is also ready. And if you go to the thing, if you go to the URL, correct URL, and SSH into port 22, you will be served TY. And if you SSH, we have to change the URL in the TY so that the container that is running the TY can reach the container which is running the backend here, and they will be connected through a network. Okay, but forget that. The main problem right now is that it is a very simple problem like this. Control C, ls. Here we have in this cd disk. So we were doing, yep, here we have this. Where is this index.html file which we want to serve, but we are not able to serve because we are getting an error. 1x serve this current folder on localhost 3000. Okay, it is running. We are able to serve it locally, but we are not able to serve it there. We are not able to serve it there. Okay, using Nginx. There we are getting error, this error, even though if we go to network, we are getting the JavaScript file, the whole thing, and this index HTML file is also importing the JavaScript file and also the CSS file. CSS is also there. Let's see. In the index.html file is a bundle for a React project, and I am getting this error on serving it, and the error is this. Nginx is serving the JavaScript file plain text in a text JavaScript files with text plain instead of application JavaScript. This happens. Okay, we have to tell Nginx something. Here, this try files, this also adds this, add this for React routing. The try files line is also worth adding now. Without it directly navigating to any React route / dashboard will return a 200 since those paths don't exist on a real file on the disk. It tells Nginx to fall back to index.html and let a React route handle it. This file try files URI Nginx configuration try files. Looks same. Okay, now we have to build again. Docker build from the root folder. Docker build, this is building. Docker kill the already running Nginx container, and Docker remove this container after stopping it. Now it is building. We will run this container, run this image, exporting to image. We got error, failed to build. Okay, exporting to image, prepare. Snapshot, this parent does not exist. Docker image ls. Let's try again. Docker build target Nginx. Okay, shit, that was very quick. Cool. Docker run Nginx. Okay, and now if you go to this URL, still nothing. Error is still the same. Same error still. Okay, I gotta start streaming, man. Yes, you should. But I cannot decide what I would do, especially because I cannot talk freely because of my roommates. Wait, does your roommate abuses you whenever you try to speak or say something? Shit, that is a tough situation you are in. Also, have you completed the cohort course? No, nope, nope, nope. Nope. Yes, I do have to complete it. Uh, yes, when you come back here to Meerut, we will go to CCS. Mime types. What is mime types? The most likely cause this is that your JS files are being copied into image without their extension being preserved. For mime type, dot path is wrong. Let's verify. What is mime types? And I'm out of water. Okay, shit. I think these should be added by Nginx in that case. Multipurpose internet mail extension. Despite the mail in the name, it is now used everywhere on the web. It's just a standard way of labeling what type of content something is. How it works is this: when a server sends a file to the browser, it attaches labels like this. Okay, the browser reads the label because it is communicating through HTTPS, and HTTPS, in the header there is content type. Makes sense, makes sense. It doesn't trust the file extension, it trusts MIME type. Okay, error is saying that your browser received text. Okay, plain, the type that Nginx is telling the browser the JavaScript file is plain text, but it is a JavaScript file, so MIME type is wrong. Makes sense. This is a security feature. Browsers enforce strict MIME checking for module scripts, so malicious code content cannot be sneaked and misled. What is MIME type? Okay, okay. Apps front-end dist. We don't have any MIME thing here. Okay, so how does index.html file know the MIME types? How does how does the server know? It doesn't. The index.html file doesn't know the MIME types. The server Nginx is entirely responsible for attaching the correct label. Okay, so ending just contains script tags. It is in no way what MIME type should be attached. It is always the server's job to label. Okay, the file extension MIME.types lookup table. If Nginx doesn't have a MIME.types loaded, the convention looks like this. Here it is. It is a plain text. So how does Nginx know? No, I don't have Claude Pro. No, not really. I don't want them to judge me. Okay. I mean, there is also a song, I'm beautiful just the way I am, if that is appropriate, but people will judge you. No, Claude Pro. I don't have Claude Pro, but I do have uh, LM Arena, LM Studio, local GPT model, and I guess the model is not loaded by default. Yep, if I click on this, then the model will be loaded. This one is 6 GB in size, big model by Google. I saw a Fireship video that this model is like pretty cool. Okay, how does Nginx know the type? Nginx knows purely by looking at the file extension. Okay, that is when you request something like this, Nginx sees JavaScript at the end, looks it up in the mime.types. Okay, inside which, okay, where is this mime types table then? So it attaches this. Where is mime.types? We can like find it out without asking Claude where this is, using some Linux stuff. Okay, find here grep mime.types. Cool. Yep, it is right here in Nginx /etc /cd etc Nginx get mime types. This is mime types. Okay, let's say get mime types grep js. Yes, application.json. If the type is .js, then okay, mime type is also good. Types is okay in Nginx. And this is likely that your build files are being served from the wrong place, or the config is actually the files are reaching the browser. No, this is fine, no problem with this. Check whether the content type is actually responding with okay curl. Shit. Curl I. What is I? Shit. TLDR does not exist because TLDR does not exist on the Nix repository. Linux Nix. So it is called TLRC in Nix. TELDWR. We can add this config Nix. We cannot CDS and flakes Nix dot TLDR. Cool. Format sudo Darwin rebuild switch with flake here, and the username is walrus. Command is wrong. Okay, it is installing TLDR. Cool. Cool, TLDR is there now. TLDR curl. key that is a lot of text. What is the I flag? Which is slash slash colon 2323 slash mw3 s.cs. Content type is text plain. Yep. Which is wrong. Uh, 3 hours and okay, I guess we will continue this later on. At some point I will like eat something now. It has been 3 hours, but what we have done is quite a lot. We got the Docker file for the TUI, image for the TUI, backend Docker. We have Docker files for everything. We just need to fix the fact that Nginx is not telling the browser that this current file is a JavaScript file and not a plain text file. That is the only thing that we have to fix, and we will fix it in some time. Maybe I might do another stream today about this, which would be cool. Okay, but for now, that would be it. And thank you for being here. Bye.